In a small town of Anjala, Tunde was known for his hard work and dedication to his family. He had recently married Bola, a woman admired throughout the town for her kindness and grace. Their wedding had been a large event, attended by nearly everyone in the community. From the outside, their life seemed perfect. Tunde's younger sister, Sade, lived with them. After the death of their parents, Tunde took Sade in and became her protector. They were always close, and when Tunde married Bola, Sade continued to live with them in the family home. At first, everything seemed normal. Bola and Sade appeared to get along well. They were often seen together at town events, spending time together at the local market, or attending town meetings at the community center. In many ways, Sade was like a sister to Bola, and they worked together seamlessly to help manage the household. But over time, Tunde began to notice small but unsettling shifts in their behavior. Bola and Sade had become unusually close. They exchanged secretive glances and would often fall silent whenever Tunde entered the room. At first, Tunde dismissed it as nothing more than normal bonding, but the growing sense of unease worried him. Meanwhile, Bola had also grown distant from Tunde. She avoided intimacy, brushing off his attempts at conversation, claiming she was tired or preoccupied. Their conversations had become increasingly forced, and Tunde sensed something was wrong. But each time he asked Bola what was troubling her, she reassured him with vague answers. One evening, as Tunde walked past the guest room where Bola and Sade often talked, Tunde overheard a conversation. "I don't know how much longer we can keep this hidden," Bola whispered, her voice tense. "We don't have a choice," Sade replied. "Tunde can never know." Tunde's heart raced. Now, with Bola and Sade whispering behind his back, Tunde feared that Sade had revealed the truth. Years ago, after the death of their parents, Tunde and Sade made a terrible mistake. In a moment of shared grief and emotional vulnerability, they slept together. They regretted it instantly, but the consequences were unavoidable. Sade became pregnant. The shame and guilt weighed heavily on both of them. They swore to keep the truth hidden forever. The people in Anjala believed that Sade had been abandoned by the man who fathered her child, but in reality, Tunde was the father. To protect their secret, Tunde and Sade arranged for the child to live with their Aunt Bose in the neighboring town of Ajibode, about a 2-hour drive away. Aunt Bose was a gentle and loving woman who had no children of her own and was happy to take in the boy, raising him as though he were her own. The arrangement allowed Sade and Tunde to keep up the facade of normalcy in Anjala, whilst ensuring the boy was cared for and kept away from the prying eyes of the town. The child, now a young boy, occasionally visited Anjala with Aunt Bose, but his visits were very brief. The town was never told the full truth, and the lie that Sade had been abandoned by the boy's father continued. One afternoon, Tunde came home earlier than expected. He had just received a promotion at work and wanted to celebrate with his wife. As he approached the master bedroom, he heard soft voices and moaning. His heart pounded as he neared the door, unsure of what he might find. When he opened the door, his world shattered. Bola and Sade were in his bed together. They weren't just talking, they were wrapped in each other's arms, their clothes discarded around the room. Tunde stood frozen, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. "Bola, Sade," Tunde shouted, his voice trembling with rage and disbelief. Both women scrambled to cover themselves, their faces pale with shock, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. "How long has this been going on?" Tunde demanded, his voice breaking. Neither of them could answer. The only way Tunde could control his anger was to leave the room. That evening, after the initial shock had somewhat settled, Tunde confronted Sade in private. The betrayal consumed him, but his anger was mixed with confusion. "Sade, how could you do this?" Tunde asked, his voice thick with hurt. "After everything we've been through, after everything we did, how could you betray me like this?" Sade's eyes filled with tears as she looked at her brother. She knew she couldn't keep the deeper truth hidden any longer. "Tunde," Sade began softly, her voice trembling. "You don't understand. This isn't about what happened between me and Bola. There's something I've never told you. Tunde frowned, confused. What are you talking about? Sade took a deep breath, her hands shaking. When we were younger, living with Auntie Yabo, after Mommy and Daddy died, something terrible happened to me. Tunde's brow furrowed in concern. What do you mean, Sade? Sade's voice trembled as she continued. One night, Auntie Yabo touched me inappropriately. It started with seemingly innocent gestures, affectionate hugs, brushing my hair, but then it escalated. I didn't understand what was happening at first. I was confused and scared. Auntie Yabo told me it was our little secret and made me feel as if I had done something wrong. This continued for some time, and even though I wanted to speak up, I didn't know how to explain what was happening to me. I felt ashamed and guilty, unsure if anyone would believe me. As I grew older, I found myself attracted to women. I remembered Auntie Yabo's touches, and though it was rooted in my trauma, it shaped my sexual appetite. I felt lost, unsure of myself, and deeply confused about my attraction to women. I questioned whether my attraction was genuine or simply a result of what happened to me. This was part of the reason why I ended up sleeping with you. When you started dating Bola, I couldn't help but be drawn to her. Bola was warm, kind, and beautiful. Everything I admired in a woman. But I knew it was wrong. I told myself it was just a feeling that would pass, that my attraction to Bola would fade once you married her. But it didn't. Instead, the more time I spent with Bola, the deeper my feelings grew. I felt so guilty for being attracted to my brother's wife, but I couldn't help myself. Tunde was shocked. He had no idea that Sade had endured such trauma. For years, he had carried the guilt of their shared mistake, never realizing that Sade had been carrying far more emotional scars. Sade wiped her eyes, her voice breaking. That night, what happened between us? It wasn't just grief. I was confused. I didn't know what was right or wrong anymore. I've been carrying that pain for so long, and I didn't know how to handle it. I'm so sorry, Sade, Tunde whispered, his voice full of sorrow. I never knew. Sade shook her head. It's not your fault, but after everything that's happened, I can't keep hiding it anymore. We need to tell Bola the truth. She deserves to know. Before Tunde and Sade could gather themselves to speak to Bola, Bola entered the room, her face pale, her expression resolute. She had been silent since Tunde caught her and Sade together, but now she was ready to speak. I'm sure you are wondering why this happened, Bola said, her voice shaky but determined. Why I betrayed you, Tunde. Tunde looked up at her, still reeling from what he had seen and heard, but stayed silent. Bola took a deep breath. It's because I was unhappy, Tunde. I love you, but I've always struggled with intimacy. I've never felt satisfied in bed. Tunde frowned. What do you mean? Bola's eyes filled with tears as she explained. I tried so hard to be the wife you needed, but something was always missing. I didn't feel connected to you in the way I was supposed to. I thought if I kept trying, it would get better, but it didn't, and I didn't know how to tell you. Tunde's heart sank. Bola, why didn't you talk to me about this? Why did you turn to Sade? How long has this been going on for? Bola wiped her tears, her voice trembling with guilt as she continued. I was scared to tell you the truth, Tunde. I didn't want you to think there was something wrong with me. And then with Sade, I felt something different. I didn't mean for it to happen, but she understood me in a way that I didn't understand myself. There was something about Sade's quiet strength and vulnerability that pulled me in. It started off as very platonic, but one night, after you had left the house for a business trip, me and Sade shared a bottle of wine, talked late into the night, laughing and reminiscing about your wedding. And as the conversation deepened, so did the connection between us. Before I knew it, Sade kissed me. I didn't pull away. She made me feel a type of way that no one had ever made me feel. We ended up going all the way, and I've been doing so since. And we've hated ourselves each day. The room fell silent as Bola's words hung in the air. The affair with Sade now made a terrible kind of sense to Tunde, but it only deepened the pain in his heart. Sade remained quiet, tears still streaming down her face. Later that evening, after Bola's confession, Tunde and Sade knew it was time to tell Bola everything, the truth about the child they had hidden and the mistake they had made so many years ago. They sat down together, the tension palpable in the air. Since we're all telling the truth, there's something else you need to know, Bola, Tunde began, his voice heavy with guilt. Something we've kept from you for years. Bola, still processing the emotional upheaval, looked up at them with a tired, weary expression. What else could there be? She asked, her voice trembling. Sade wiped her eyes, struggling to hold herself together. It's about me and Tunde. Before you and Tunde got married, years ago, after our parents died, we made a terrible mistake. Bola's eyes widened. She could sense the weight of what was coming, but she needed to hear it. What are you talking about? Bola asked. Sade's voice trembled as she spoke. We were grieving, confused. One night, Tunde and I, we slept together. Bola's face went white. Her mind raced, trying to process the enormity of what Sade had just confessed. But before she could speak, Tunde stepped in. It was a mistake, Bola. One that we regretted immediately, Tunde said. But there's more. Sade became pregnant. The child she had, the boy living with Aunt Bosse, he's mine. I'm the father. The air in the room grew thick with tension. Bola's eyes darted back and forth between the two of them, unable to comprehend what she was hearing. You have a child together? Bola whispered, her voice barely audible. You've been lying to me this whole time? Tunde nodded, his heart sinking. We didn't know how to tell you. We thought we were protecting you, but we were wrong. I was wrong. Sade, her voice breaking, added, we arranged for Aunt Bosse to raise him, to keep him away from Angela so no one would find out. We've kept this secret for so long, and it's been eating at us every day. I'm so sorry, Bola. The revelation hit Bola like a tidal wave. She stood up abruptly, her body trembling with the weight of everything she had just learned. You, both of you, lied to me, Bola whispered, her voice raw with emotion. All these years, I've lived in this house with you, Sade, thinking you were my best friend. And you've been hiding something like this from me? How could you? How could you betray me like this? Tunde stepped towards her, his eyes full of regret. Bola, I'm sorry. I know I've hurt you in ways I can't even begin to understand. But we thought we were doing the right thing, keeping the truth hidden. The right thing? Bola's voice rose, trembling with anger. You thought lying to me for years was the right thing? Letting me live in this house with you both, pretending everything was fine? You let me marry you, Tunde, without ever telling me the truth? Sade sobbed, unable to defend herself. I thought I was protecting you, Bola. I thought I could protect everyone by keeping this secret. Bola looked at her with a mix of anger and sadness. You weren't protecting anyone, Sade. You were protecting yourself. You were both protecting yourselves. And now I've been dragged into the mess you created. The scandal soon spread beyond the confines of their home. Small towns like Angela thrived on gossip, and it wasn't long before the whispers about the family's secret began to circulate. The rumors spread like wildfire, and soon the entire town knew about the family's tangled secrets. Tunde and Sade, once respected members of the community, found themselves shunned. People in the town stopped inviting them to events, and their once perfect image had crumbled in the eyes of the neighbors. Even Aunt Bosse, who had lovingly raised their child, heard the whispers. She felt a deep sadness for the boy, knowing that his life too was being affected by the mistakes of his parents' past. Days passed, and the tension in the house grew unbearable. Bola had withdrawn from both Tunde and Sade, avoiding them as much as possible. She couldn't look at either of them without feeling the sting of betrayal. One evening, Tunde approached her, desperate to talk. Bola, please, we need to talk, Tunde pleaded. I know I've hurt you. I know you have every right to hate me, but we can't go on like this. Bola's eyes were filled with hurt as she looked at him with disbelief. Talk? What is there left to talk about, Tunde? You lied to me. You let me live with Sade thinking she was my best friend, and all while keeping this enormous secret from me. What am I supposed to say? Tunde's voice cracked. I love you, Bola. I know I've made terrible mistakes. We all have. But I love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. I don't want to lose you. Bola's tears fell freely now. You've already lost me, Tunde. You and Sade, both of you, have destroyed any trust I had in this family. I don't even know who you are anymore." Tunde's heart shattered at her words. He had feared this moment would come, but hearing it from Bola was like a knife to his chest. The future of the family remained uncertain. Bola, Tunde and Sade could no longer live together anymore and moved out. Their bond was shattered into pieces by their secrets. Bola couldn't bring herself to look at either Tunde or Sade. The betrayal she felt was too deep, and though she still loved Tunde in a small way, the pain and the lies had created a chasm that seemed impossible to cross. Tunde, racked with guilt, struggled to find a way forward. He knew he had destroyed everything he had built, and he didn't know if it could ever be repaired. Sade, consumed by shame, distanced herself from the family, unsure if she would ever be able to mend the relationships she had broken. The weight of the past bore down on her, and she realized too late that hiding the truth had only caused more harm. So, who do you think is the true victim? Is it Bola, who was deceived by her husband and her closest friend? Or is it Sade, trapped by the trauma of her past and driven to make choices that she will regret forever? Or perhaps Tunde is the real victim, a man burdened by the guilt of his mistakes, trying desperately to hold his family together, only to see it fall apart. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Who do you think is the true victim? Let us know in the comments below. If this story made you think or feel something powerful, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more content like this. And don't forget to turn on your notification bells so you don't miss out on our next video. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing what you think about the story in the comments below. Until next time.